Hello and welcome to the fall themed painting tutorial. Let's get our palette set. So I'm going to start by making brown. How I typically make brown is I'll mix red and blue together to create a purple, and then I'll slowly add yellow until I get the desired brown color I'm looking for. Now that we have mixed our brown, I'm adding burnt sienna to our palette, and then also I'm going to make a really light gray because I want to kind of create this illusion of it being like a cool, misty fall day. So I'm gonna mix that. I'm gonna probably add a little bit more white because that's a little dark, and then I'll have a nice light gray color. I'm also adding blue here, and now we're gonna go in with the light gray for the top half of our canvas to create the sky, because like I said, it's fall, so I'm kind of feeling like it's a chilly day, and that's how our painting is going to convey this story that we're at the pumpkin patch in the fall around Thanksgiving. Gray, I'm thinking gray skies, chilly, or misty. I want there to be a slight blue hue to my sky as well, so I'm just adding a teeny bit of blue color. We're going to do a layer of burnt sienna followed by a layer of brown. And as you can see, I made a mistake, so I just got to clean that up and cover it up. But yeah, we're going to use the side of our paintbrush, and once again, or not once again, but just so you guys know, I'm using a 1-inch flat paintbrush to get started today. And I'm just kind of wiggling it back and forth using the flat edge of my brush to convey the idea that this is soil. I want you guys to let this layer dry completely before we move on to the next step. The next step is going to be adding just a little bit of white to your palette and watering it down just slightly. Using the 1-inch paintbrush, we're gonna put like kind of a whitewash on top of our painting. Once again, we're trying to convey this feeling of like a cool autumn day. So we're gonna do that by using a very, very light watered down pigment of white. Alright guys, grab your 1/4-inch flat paintbrush and some white, and we're going to lay down the foundation for the main pieces in our painting. I'm starting with a white rectangle. That's going to be like the cute little sign that says pumpkins on it, and then I'm going to have a post through the middle of that rectangle. That's obviously the post hanging, helping it hold itself up. And then I'm going to make some really organic shapes for the pumpkins. I went with a tall like oval pumpkin, an oblong pumpkin, and then like a fat short pumpkin, and then a round pumpkin at the end. You can make your pumpkins whatever shape you want, but this is just what I decided to do. And I don't know why, but it really helps me to just lay down those foundational pieces with white, just so I can kind of like imagine where I'm going with each piece and each layer moving forward. Let this layer dry completely, and then when that's done, we're going to mix the rest of our colors for the pumpkins. I'm going to make an orange, which is yellow and red. You're going to want to use a little more yellow to red, and you can kind of play around with that. And then I also am going to be using yellow by itself. Next, we're going to be making green, so you'll need yellow and blue. And once again, play around with those proportions to get the right color green for you. I decided to make the far left pumpkin like a green, like light green pumpkin, so I grabbed a little white and green, and that's going to be the first layer for that pumpkin. Next, you're going to need to grab your orange, and we're going to make, or I chose to make the next two pumpkins orange. Whatever colors you want to do is totally cool and unique to what your the palette or feel you're going for. But I decided to do two orange pumpkins, so this is the first layer. Next we have the sign, and I'm just gonna do a layer of burnt sienna for the sign for now. We'll probably add some darker brown later, but this is the base layer. As long as your pumpkins are relatively dry, we can go ahead and add red to the bottom part of the pumpkin. Next, to the middle section of the pumpkin, we're going to do that orange color, just some simple brush strokes. We're trying to convey this message with the least amount of brush strokes as possible. And then the top, I'm going to add some yellow and just kind of work on blending that in. Here I am using just a little bit of white to lighten everything. Just kind of around the edges, maybe around the middle. And then now for our green pumpkin, I'm going to use blue as the darkest color, and then that green for a medium color, and then we'll add a really light green to the top. So the same pattern, the darker colors on the bottom of our pumpkin, the lighter colors in the middle, slash kind of some highlights towards the top. Here I am making the color for the vine of the pumpkins. It's going to be a mixture of green and brown, but we're actually going to circle back to doing the vine towards like once our pumpkins are actually finished. So for now, let's just clean our brushes and do some brown on the sign, and we'll circle back to using that brownish green color in just a little bit. So I'm using a little burnt sienna and the dark brown color to just put a nice layer on this sign. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to grab a slightly smaller paintbrush, and we are going to do the same thing we did with the larger paintbrush, which I misspoke is a 1/2 inch. This would be the 1/4 inch, but we're going to do the same pattern as we did before. We're just going to do slightly smaller brush strokes. So we're going to add some red towards the bottom. We're going to add some highlights with yellow and white, and then blend everything together with some orange. It's time to continue with the blue, green, and light green for the shading of this other pumpkin. Once again, we're doing the same pattern, just with a slightly smaller brush. It's time to paint the vines, which is gonna look so cute. So we're just gonna use like whatever pattern we feel comfortable with. We're gonna use that vine to go up and around in a unique way. So my middle pumpkin is actually going to stretch and do a curlicue and then we're not gonna be able to see where it touches the ground because it's gonna go behind the pumpkin. And then the other two pumpkins will also do a wiggly line. And you can just follow my pattern, or you can just go off the rails and find like something that feels fun to you. There's no specific way to do this. Now I'm going to get out my teeny tiny paintbrush to add, once again, just some highlights, some variation in color to help this vine pop. So I'm going in like with a really like some white that I mixed into that brownish gray color, and then I'm also going to do like a really light green and also some like really dark brown colors as well. So just kind of mix it up, having those highlights and lowlights. It will give a lot of cool variation to your pumpkin, or your pumpkin vine, I should say. This is probably one of my favorite details that I decided to add to this piece, and that is a little frog trying to climb on top of the pumpkin. If you haven't seen it before, I have a frog painting tutorial of a frog trying to climb up onto a mushroom. It's super cute. I'll link it in this video. So this is the same frog character, just like really teeny tiny. So you have to be really careful. Use your teeny tiny brush. We're gonna do an oval shape for the head and then 2 circles on each side of the oval for the eyeballs. And then the hands are just 2 little tiny circles, and you're gonna put those like right on the edge of the pumpkin. And then I also added his foot off to the left side, which is basically just a triangle shape. Now, once again, I'm adding a few highlights kind of around the eyes and the forehead, a little highlight on the foot, and 2 little highlights on the hands as well. Here I'm adding just a little bit of black to the palette, but we're going to use that in a little bit. Right now I'm going to cover up the bottom of the pumpkin with brown to make it look like this pumpkin has been sitting and growing in the dirt, and it's kind of, you know, it's part or embedded in the soil. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to grab some black to make the frog's eyes and cute little smile. So I did one eye, just a circle, and then the other eye was just a couple of lines, like he's trying really hard to climb up onto this pumpkin, and then a little sideways smiley face. Now it's time to outline stuff, which, as many of you know, is one of my favorite details because it just kind of gives this cute illustration style painting, just like, I don't know, the final details, the final touches. So I'm going to use a little black paint to just loosely outline the sign. And now I'm going to start writing pumpkins with paint. So if you are not super confident with writing letters with paint, it can be a really big challenge. So don't be like ashamed to use a Sharpie or some sort of permanent marker. I can definitely leave suggestions in the description section under this video if you're looking for some suggestions. But yeah, no shame. Just do what you gotta do. If you can paint it, paint it. If not, just grab a Sharpie, grab an oil-based paint marker, something like that. Now we're just gonna write $5, pumpkins $5, and then the rest of this section, we're just gonna be outlining the pumpkins, the soil, and then the cute little frog character. This is gonna be a very loose outline, so don't worry about it being perfect. Now I'm going to go through and add some white highlights where I see they would benefit or help kind of some of the illustration pop. So I'm doing that in the soil. I'm gonna do it around the letters of pumpkin just because I feel like it's a little bit like dark brown, and then the black is also very dark, so I just kind of want to help those areas pop. Also, remember to add a few highlights to your frog's feet, and then definitely a little twinkle in his eye. We're just wrapping up this fall themed painting tutorial, and I really hope you guys enjoyed the way your painting turned out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.